How y'all doing? Good morning. It would be traditional to answer me. This time I'll say, how you doing? And you go, great. Ready? How y'all doing? Great. These are amazing donuts. No carbs, no fat, no sugar, no calories. It's a health food. I had coffee here. I'm sorry, I know I'm a keynote speaker, but I'm not impervious to where are the slides? They're there. So if I want to see the slides, I look backwards, right? So I hope you're all going to get used to this business. Social media and making money in 2018 is kind of a mind F. I can only say F because this is the buckle of the Bible belt, right? So I need to be really careful and not offend anybody. I travel all over the world speaking, and this year I'm focusing a lot on these regional conferences because I just want to meet more of the amazing marketers who have helped my company become what it is. That's St. Paul's Cathedral in London, Nantucket. We're not really going to talk about marketing. We're just going to look at my vacation pictures. This is the agenda for today. Okay, there's a monitor there. I got it figured out. We're going to talk about using Facebook for profound business intelligence in light of a current case study that I think you will enjoy. You're all seeing targeting disappear from Facebook and other channels as a result of Cambridge Analytica and other stuff that's happening in this world. So we'll talk about how to turn that into an advantage instead of a liability. And then anybody wondering exactly what Facebook is good for right now? Like Mashable has 7 million Facebook followers, and they post their major stuff 30 times a day and get 8 likes or 9 likes. Hardly worth it for the investment. Hold on one second. Otherwise, you're going to get to know the side of my head really well. Is that okay? Yes? Yeah. My shit's complicated. I need to see what it is. I don't have S-P-E, A, B, C, D, E. There's lots of talk right now about whether to use very explicit, tight targeting data or whether to go mass marketing, and I'll demystify that for you. We see a lot of data at AimClear, and I'm going to share what we know. How many people here would love to have more brand search? Raise your hand. More people searching for your brand every day. All your hands can be up about that because brand search is like lakefront property, and I'll tell you how to get more brand search. If we have time, we'll do the case study. It's only 45 minutes today, so we'll go into it if we can. Influencers and targeting individuals in social, and how to see everyone else's Google Analytics. How to see, would you love to see your competitors' desktop conversion optimization and their goals in GA? So there's a tool now that lets you do that. You ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. Dudettes, do-da-day. So who's paying attention to the Kaepernick NFL Nike thing? It's kind of interesting, right? I saw somebody at Facebook say, well, Nike they were so dumb because they knew that 50% would like it and 50% would hate it. And it's not even like that at all. So we decided to dig into that. So there's 32 million people who are into Nike things in Facebook, approximately. There's more than these ones, but they roll up into this 32 million number. There's 78 million people who are interested in African American things. Now, we can't say that they are African Americans, but we can say that they're into history, or Black is beautiful, or Afro-textured hair, or African prints in fashion. So those are powerful affinities. It's not likely that people that are interested in these things have a problem or are racist. It's not likely if you research them. Okay, so there's 78 million people. You all know about Colin Kaepernick, right? He took the knee during the Star-Spangled Banner. And in America, this is a country where we're allowed to burn flags and stuff. However, it became an uproar. I'm not judging the righteousness of that move or imputing I'm not rendering judgment about this. It's just a fact. He did that. So there's 78 million people who are interested in NFL things. There's more than these, but they also roll up into the 78 million. And there's 1.2 million who are interested in Colin Kaepernick. So that's interesting, if you'll excuse the pun. Never hang around at Facebook and go, it's like this, like, or I'm really interested in. It just means something entirely different there. So what we can say is that these folks are aware of Colin Kaepernick, right? We don't know if they're in favor of the social protest against police brutality in Oakland. We don't know anything about their opinion. We just know they're aware, right? So let's keep drilling down. There's 16 million people of Nike's 32 million, about half the audience, that are interested in African-American things. So that's not likely to be a problem that Nike used Colin Kaepernick. By way of background, and y'all probably know, but I'll say it anyway, Nike decided to keep Colin Kaepernick on once the NFL kicked him out, and then they decided to feature him very prominently in their Just Do It series of commercials. You're aware of this, right? You know about it here in Oklahoma? Yes? My sister went to college at OU. This is a really cool place to come back to. Y'all root for the Minnesota Vikings, right? How many Vikings fans? Joey is. I know he is. So there's 2.6 million Facebook users with Nike affinities who are identified as further right. These are not people who are middle-of-the-road conservatives. These are people who are into Alex Jones or InfoWars or Glenn Beck or Red State or Rush Limbaugh. Only 2.6 million people of Nike's audience are far right. And of those 2.6 million people, 1.1 million of them have African-American interests. So that reduces the audience that might be upset about what Nike did even further. It's interesting, after we published a study in Aim Clear blog, Nike contacted us to go, thank you, that's really cool. So let's go farther. 20 million Nike users are moderately to very liberal. They're interested in Chris Matthews or Michelle Obama or Elizabeth Warren or the Progressive Party. So it's not looking like this was a very big risk for Nike yet, did it? 24 million Nike users like the NFL, right? So it is true that the audiences overlap. But if you look at people that like Nike, NFL, and Colin Kaepernick, only 450,000 of them are aware of Colin Kaepernick. That's a who cares? Like it's an afterthought. So 1.4 million of Nike's Facebook audience, which probably represents a large percentage of their audience, even knows either way about Colin Kaepernick. Was it a big risk for Nike to take a position like this? Or did they completely stoke the liberal fire? Reality is that search interest spiked up after they made the move, and if you look at trends, when it came down and plateaued, it was higher than it was before. Brilliant. And Nike's online sales over Labor Day, which was the weekend after the campaign was announced, were up 32% by multiple independent studies. Not a very big risk for Nike, right? The point for you as marketers is if you want to really understand your psychographics for your audiences, Facebook is an amazing tool for that, right? What's important here isn't Colin Kaepernick or the NFL or Nike. What's important is knowing that even though we've had serious regression of data in Facebook, still it's the greatest tool known to humankind for studying audiences, and you could do studies like this quite easily. It also works with Facebook's overlap tool, which is a neat new tool. So we'd encourage you to take audiences you want to study and build segmentation analysis like this. It's really a great way still to do audience analysis. So between Cambridge Analytica, GDPR, anybody here market in Europe, raise your hands. It's a data apocalypse in Europe. I love it. It separates the wheat from the chaff, and we're excited about a third of our clients are Europeans, so we're deep into GDPR. I'm going to Munich after this to speak at SEO Oktoberfest, and I'm excited about that. Here's the interesting thing. Usually when there's major disruption, it's because somebody made an app that allows for ride sharing that really whacks out the taxi industry, or Airbnb develops a concept where people are sharing, or other major developments, or a new coding language. Usually deep disruption in an industry has happened when cool new shit happens, In the marketing industry, we're living through the greatest data regression in the history of Earth. It's unbelievable. It's an important point to take note that the challenges for us technologically as marketers right now are about what things are being taken away that we couldn't do anymore, that we used to be able to do. In Europe, some marketers are really concerned even with retaining data for retargeting, because there's an obscure rule that was passed right after GDPR hit that says if you use Facebook, and Facebook breaks GDPR, then you're responsible for it. And they're heading for a major fall. And guess what? It's coming to America now. And even though I'm going to talk about Europe some during this conversation, pay close attention, because a little bit after I'm retired soon, you're going to be dealing with that shit. You're not going to be able to use data the way you have. Essentially, we've been able to build lists without permission for 8 years, 7, 8 years. Retargeting. No other history of marketing were we able to build lists for following users around in direct mail or television or anything that we could do right without permission. It's really interesting. And this guy, anybody know who he is? Tricky, Nixie, whatever. In London, I did a keynote a month ago, and I showed a picture of this guy next to a llama's ass and poop in his mouth, and they were scared. Some people say that GDPR is Europe's revenge for the American Revolution. If you think about it, King Louis loaned America the money for the revolution, and then we didn't pay him back, something like that. And then when France went bankrupt, that started the Reign of Terror, and they cut off his head. Didn't really work out for France. And England, they sent the ships over here, and we dumped their stuff in the harbor, and we all killed each other. So it's so interesting. But here's what we could say. In Europe, they can't do anything, and America is kind of a privacy swill pit. We could still do anything here. We can associate targeting with people's CRM records. Facebook is doing its best. There was just information that came out yesterday about, you know what? Guess what they figured out? They figured out that you could target by gender in job ads. Wow! Crazy. Well, we haven't been allowed to do that at our company or for our clients, but if you have any clients that come to you and do employment ads, housing ads, anything that might be discriminatory or any human rights, and your clients come to you and say, hey, I'd like to just target women between the ages of 17 and 19 who show signals of being whatever, you go, I'm sorry, I will not do that. Because here's the deal, you're going to be sued yourself as an agency. You better police that and know more about it. Study what human rights means in any country that you're marketing in. And even though Facebook and other channels allow you to segment by that, don't do it. Facebook has billions of users. Think about how serious shit we're in if it's front page news that Facebook took down 652 sites. The reality is that whereas you used to be able to buy mature Facebook accounts and ads accounts in black hat SEO forums, here's where it lives now. Games profile swap sites. Wherever they're selling gaming things where you can go buy like a Mortal Kombat profile that's mature by the thousands, they're probably selling Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and other accounts. So it's really ugly out there. One thing we know with certainty is that the more humans are concerned about privacy, the more it eats our marketing tactics. Facebook has willingly cost itself billions in revenue by eliminating targeting. It's a very scary paradigm for marketers because targeting options that we've always had are going away. So for you, just know that it's an advantage, actually, and as we get further into this keynote today, I'll tell you more about how to use creativity to turn data regression into an advantage. It's like blowing my mind. Everybody make an explosion sound. Ready, go. That never works, but I try it every time. It basically works like this. We're performance marketers. When we brand, we keep the data in the form of a cookie by pixeling people with Facebook, Google, DMP, and other pixels, right? and then we retarget them with content and more ads as they get further down the funnel until we have ka-ching, and we sell. So that's not how it works in Europe anymore. Anything after the first touch is the consent zone, and you're not really allowed to do anything that retains data without getting consent. So our clients are focused on moving consent from like a 10 or 20% standard prior to like 70 or 80%. But don't worry about it, because the real question is, what can I offer my users that make them trip over their own feet to give us the data? And it works kind of like this. If you want to see our shit in Facebook every day, you have to say yes. If you want us to mail you things, you need to say yes. So get in the idea of permission marketing. Seth Godin invented that phrase some years ago. And so now in your marketing, in preparation for the data apocalypse, which we're certainly going to see in the near term or midterm in America, start building out campaign ideas that ask people for their consent. And as in tandem with that, understand that we're going to be operating on smaller groups of people who said yes. So look for smaller retargeting and other retained data audiences with much higher conversion rate. That will be the paradigm as you mature in your career. And of course, if you get consent, then you can still do anything to them that you want. So start that now. Start testing how you can get consent. Don't make your cookie okay verbiage perfunctory. Don't make it an afterthought. Include it in the creativity of your campaign. And anyway, we could party like it's 2011, because the last time we had such regressive tactics in Europe and soon to be in America was 2011, really. And that's the bad news. The good news is that we never had it before. We will never have it again. It was a really fun party. And while we're in this current administration, which I also will not judge for the purpose of this, know that this current administration politically doesn't really seem to have the consumer protection for the little guy as paramount. If anything, the FTC is relaxing its enforcement on marketers. So if ever there is a time to use targeting and associate it with people's CRM data, now is the time. You probably haven't heard a lot about targeting and privacy rules, targeting restrictions and privacy rules coming to America, but you do see it disappearing from Facebook every day. By the way, here's something you don't know. You know how income targeting is going away in Facebook? Anybody here use income targeting? What it's going to be replaced with is zip codes filtered by average income, which isn't bad. That's not announced, but it's going to happen. The first thing that happened in Europe was that GDPR sued Google and Facebook for $4 billion. Because let's think this through, okay? You're not allowed to retain data by way of a cookie without permission, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but the experience we have on Facebook and Google today might be pretty hard with just a session variable that gets destroyed. The very way that websites and dynamic experiences are tooled today require retained data and persistent state, in the word of developers. I wrote an article in Inc. magazine. I would love it if you read my weekly column in Inc. about this, if you want to get deeper into it, turning it into an advantage. And I'll go into it here. You with me so far? Am I freaking you out? Is this too much early in the morning? Okay, everybody think a happy thought about your mother. Just kidding. No, love my mom. So anybody here wondering what Facebook is good for? Anybody here wondering why we should even bother with organic strategies on Facebook company pages? Well, the answer is that it's shit. Like, what's it good for? If you haven't been doing social media community management on Facebook since 2008 and you come to us and say what to do, we'll tell you, use if this then that, IFTT dot, right? And build out contingent logic that monitors major or approved publications on Boolean queries, so it's articles in the Washington Post about this, or Mashable about that, and auto puts it on your Facebook page, then buy 20 bucks of Facebook ads so you get more likes than Mashable's 7 million followers would do, and it looks like there's signs of human life. And then you know what you've got there? You've got a socialized display network with psychographic targeting. That's what you have. So think about Facebook as the coolest display network on Earth with still pretty much the coolest targeting and a retargeting place. And the only reason we really need to worry about organic in Facebook right now is so it looks inhabited, even though it's not, really. Kind of sad, isn't it? If you're the company that spent millions of dollars building out your millions of Facebook fans, boy, that was dumb in retrospect. I hope you got a lot of mileage out of it during that time. We never cared. We always thought of it as a display channel. Because in the history of the internet, everything that marketers ever got above the fold for free was replaced by something that you had to pay for to do the same thing, right? That's been like that since the early 90s when I started this stuff. Facebook's amazing for video anything. I'll talk more about that as we get along. It's a television station, basically, with the same sorts of results as television. You could still get really great, inexpensive traffic, like you could get 4-cent video views or 3-cent video views, and you could get clicks between 30 cents and a couple bucks, which can be powerful if you're good at targeting and creative. Anytime that there's not keywords for it, if you invent something and there's no keywords and people don't know how to search for it, no inventory, Facebook has killer early adopter layers, none the least of which are early adopter technologies. Like target people who are into something like what you're doing and they're interested in Uber or other disruptive technologies. Facebook groups. I need my coffee. Where's my coffee? Oh, there it is. Thank God. Are you having fun right now? Yeah. I just decided to take my first breath. Does anybody here belong to a Facebook group that they really care about? Yeah? Has anybody ever seen anything in a Facebook group that made them cry? I have. Like, I care about the Facebook group for my condo in St. Paul and SEO Oktoberfest. That's about it. But here's the thing. You know, for years now, we've been going, okay, you post your shit on Facebook and nobody sees it, 1.8%. Like, I remember when it was everybody, and then it's gradually been declining. Interestingly, the confluence of lack of visibility and paid media and Facebook happened right about the time of the IPO. Go figure. Go figure, right when they were selling their stock. Thing is, in groups is that you see almost 100% of what happens if you're watching, and you can see everything other people do. So if you have a group that has 1,000 people, that's better saturation than 100,000 people on a Facebook page with 1% distribution. The downside is if you suck, it'll destroy your company really fast if you're using groups. Every generation of marketing has had a gate concept. Give me your email address and you can have my white paper. Like my page and you can have this content. Consider, at least for a generation, which means what? A year and a half on the internet, having groups be your gated concept. Join our group and you get our stuff. Consider things that you give group members that other people don't get. And of course, personal Facebook page. I would love it if everyone here friended me on Facebook, because I use it like LinkedIn, really. Like, if you look at my Facebook page, it's either personal branding or it's corporate stuff about Aim Clear. Facebook is the greatest personal networking tool ever. It's way better than LinkedIn is for how you interact with people. So consider, 4 years ago, I eliminated every Facebook friend, and now I have like 1,800 Facebook friends, and I booked $7 million of business in the last 2 years amongst my Facebook community. Get your top salespeople to use their personal Facebook page. Just check the venue that you live in. In Minnesota, we're not allowed to tell people what to do with their Facebook pages. We can only ask politely about it. So personal Facebook for business networking is the majorist reason to use Facebook. That's not a word, majorist. I think I just made that up. It sounds like plagiarist, doesn't it? We're partying now, right? Did I say that the donuts are a health food and they won't make me fatter? I once asked a friend if this shirt made me look fat, and he said, no, the fat makes you look fat, the shirt covers it up. So what to do with vanishing targeting is a question that we get a lot, so let's discuss that. It's true for at least 17 generations of marketing. I just made that number up. For at least 3.5 generations of marketing, we've had highly explicit targeting, really crazy-ass stuff. Which one of those do you think I think of myself as late at night when I'm thinking about targeting? All of them. That's funny, laugh. Nervous laughter. I'm in Oklahoma, so we don't talk about things like that. I'd like to think that marketers transcend the politics of any regional community, right? I think so. So the question is where do I go broad and where do I go tight in targeting? So this is German and American targeting. If you look down to the bottom, they're travel consultants or travel agents. Now there's a dying breed, so they most likely work for corporate. And in the behaviors, they're frequent travelers or international travelers, or they came back 2 weeks ago, or et cetera. They're strong travel signals, and usually behaviors, or often behaviors in Facebook are deeper objects that have more data behind them. Facebook has something like 100,000 points of data on each person. So you could see that this is very explicit behavior. So if I'm selling, say, a B2B travel app for in-house travel consultants, I have this very explicit data. It also doesn't drill down farther. It doesn't say, and they like the Rolling Stones, so the creative is going to have lips on it and say, use our travel app, right? So that would be mass marketing for that endeavor, because it doesn't keep adding layers, right? This is an interesting targeting block. These are people who live who live in Austria, but like festivals all over the world. That's an explicit targeting block, and they have all the travel signals. So that's pretty explicit. The question is, when do I go explicit and when do I go broad? We'll get more about that upcoming. Also, think about keywords as explicit psychographic targeting. If somebody is searching for Berlin Film Festival deadline, well, first of all, that's not a commercial search. Nobody's buying that. Why? Because what could I possibly get? Like, it's an informational search. Like, how many performance marketers would buy something like that? As a result, the search probably costs 22 cents or 18 cents or something like that. But it's also very deep. If somebody who's interested in entering something into the Berlin Film Festival enough to double check when the deadline is, very well may be buying transportation there, or eat at a restaurant when they're in Berlin for the film festival. And whereas the Facebook click or the Twitter click might cost a lot more, using geeked out keywords like that can often be an inexpensive way, especially for paid promotion of content. My most recent article in our blog is about that, so you might enjoy that. Look, the SERPs are completely uncontested, and uncontested search engine results pages plus nailing the quality score stuff means you're going to get a really inexpensive click, so it's a very low-cost way to fill the top of the funnel. Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and other psychographic display channels are not the only psychographic data channels on Earth. There's lots and lots of third-party data sites with names like Axiom or DataExpand or Dun & Bradstreet or MasterCard or Forbes or other whores who sell all your data and don't even tell you barely except for little tiny notations in the terms of services. If you want to know everything about it, Oracle has this buyer's guide to audiences that shows all the partner data that they either are partners with or own. Oracle has been very quietly building out their marketing data business. So if you want to know everything about all the third-party targeting data in the world, or most of it, study that. And let's not make any mistakes. I love America. I've known America was the coolest place in the world since I was young and traveling around as a civilian entertainer for the USO with hair down to there and a majors ranking, traveling all over. Google a Marty Weintraub rock star picture. It's crazy. You won't believe what you see. I was so pretty. That picture was taken at Paisley Park in like 1984 or something. America is the privacy sewer of the world. We can do things here that no one else in the world can do. It's wide open. It's so wide open that the channels are removing targeting so they're not blamed about it, right? So again, if there was ever a time to use the kind of tools we have available now, it's now. Don't worry as targeting is being taken away. We didn't have all these complex objects. I started with Facebook ads in 2007, 3 days after the channel was opened up. And we didn't have much. It was kind of spammy. There was Viagra and other weird stuff like all over, affiliates. It was messy, but we didn't have the kind of behavioral objects that we have now. So the way we did it was by finding ways. Anybody know the game Whack-A-Mole? You have those at your fairs here, like Whack-A-Mole, where it pops up you Whack-A-Mole? Don't worry, because you could take away my David Duke targeting if I want to layer that in, but I could still target Mussolini and Glenn Beck. So I don't know if Glenn Beck is quite as bad as Mussolini along those lines. Back then, we wanted to target people who had a bunch of money. They were into like Rolex or more expensive brands than that. For work, trade shows, union affiliations, thought leaders, famous legislative advances in the industry. For depression, which, sometimes we'll layer in something that's more about emotions and then tint the creative that way, not to be mean, but to serve. Like you might be selling a self-help book or something like that. It was easy to find the kinds of medications or famous books or famous authors. Violence, if you want to have a really aggressive creative and you want to layer in violence, like we were targeting people who like Mortal Kombat or other games like that. Get Up and Go, adventurous pursuits. If you target somebody who's into culinary tourism in your city, that means not only do they like to eat food, but they like to go from place to place. So that's a really great signal. And politics. We've helped elect, I think, 5 US senators and 18 US congresswomen and stuff, and they're never going to be able to take that shit away from us because things happen in culture. If somebody is interested in the history of Dred Scott, that tells you something. So look for proxies. Don't worry when targeting is taken away. Find other ways to do it. How many people here have heard of Ocean from Cambridge Analytica? Ocean? That's the personality test that they mashed in with boilerplate public Facebook data. It's so funny, Cambridge Analytica, they weren't that special. They were just willing to break contracts and the law. Like if I could break contracts and the law, then I could probably sell any shit to anybody, right? They're just bad people. Like, so you don't need to break the rules to do that in Facebook. We have a 374 object library that we maintain and keep up to date of Facebook data for financially solid or conspiracy theorists or pro-life or pro-abortion or uninsured or Buddhists or pessimists or gun fanatics. I don't want to say some of these things so you could just look. Right? It's super easy. Now, why does this matter? It matters, well, I'll show you why it matters. You can find an article about it in our blog that tells some of the methodology behind it. So let's look at this. They're gonna buy a pickup truck, lower left-hand corner, right? They're gonna buy a pickup truck. It's great data. They make enough money. I'm not selling an expensive pickup truck, so just more than 50K. They live in Denver. They're also interested into all these things on the right. What you could say about the interest on the right is that these are people who see it their way. Safe to say, right? They have their strong opinions about things. In Denver, that's 140,000 people. That's a lot. So I could just pick out the nationalist ones, or the really aggressive pro-America ones. And the ad is a picture of a pickup truck, the back lift of a pickup truck, with the front of the truck blurred out, and it's checkering flags from third world countries on the back, because it's a video, right? And the creative says, don't let some foreign gomer tell you where to buy your pickup truck clam. Am I scaring you? A few years ago, someone made a Facebook group, Marty Weintraub scares me with Facebook targeting. Do you see how I baked the nationalist layer on there and then I verticalized the creative? That's the trick. Build in emotional things to your targeting and then build out vertical creative. Here's another one. They live anywhere in Europe. They like festivals from all over the world. And look at the bottom. They're into Tinder or Plenty of Fish or Grindr or Sexy After 30 or hypersexuality. And they're travelers. They have the travel objects too. And then how do I make that pay? The creative says, hey, head to Burning Man and get laid. Not that, but you know what I mean? Basically, so what you do is you bake in these hyper emotional layers and then you verticalize the creative, and it only works every time, or most every time. It's a very powerful tactic. And then trying to decide whether to make your money by mass marketing versus tight targeting, that's the million-dollar question right now. And that's what we test all the time to figure out. And there's cost. We have one iconic transportation client that we have 3 employees embedded in the Valley running their social paid, and they target everyone in America over the age of 18 who's not their customer. Right? Not much. Your future for Facebook is you're not going to have any targeting. In 5 years, there will not be Facebook targeting the way we see it right now. I wonder if we're disturbing the plumbers. So the answer usually is to zoom out and do mass marketing. Think of Facebook like a television station. Think like a TV station. Remember back in the day, I do, because my first introduction to the internet was actually being creative director for 12 CBS affiliates in the early 90s. It was a big deal. People spent oodles of money just targeting everybody. The targeting was they watched the news in America or in my city. It had dramatic effects to do repetition, to do saturation. And what did it cause? It caused amazing marketing KPIs. Let's look at a $9,000 top-of-funnel video spend at the end of month 3 to a community of, say, 30,000 people, like a small city, right? We could view that a number of different ways. One cool thing about being me is that I get to judge the European and UK search awards every year, so I see hundreds of case studies from all over Europe. So everything that I'm going to show you here comes from data from an actual case study. We could have the normal stuff, 75,000 4-cent video views, woohoo. 1,300 website clicks at too much money. They're probably pretty good website clicks because they watched a good amount of the video and then clicked on a call to action button, so it's not bad traffic. Or bucketed engagements, comments, likes, loves, things like that at 31 cents. Or 22 conversions at $136 a conversion, which is a loss. That's right about the time my client tells me to shut that stuff off. But let's go farther into millennial KPIs. In Buffalo, New York, or a PAR neighborhood in Buffalo, there is a 1.2% pay-per-click performance marketing lift, and it lowered the CPA. Why? Because more people are searching for the brand. Because for years, we've seen that if we run lots of social and we brand it really well, use keywords on it, and say the name of the brand, that more people search for the brand. So that lowered the CPA for over 3,000 conversions from 21 to 19, saved $6,205. Not bad. I didn't make my 9K back, but starting to look a little better. So use modern tools like Looker and other business intelligence tools that extract data and connect your top-of-funnel spends to AdWords inventory for brand 3 months from now, or Google Trends data. So in your market, you're going brand, 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 brand as you try and sell. And later on, you make it up because more people search for your brand. There were 490 new brand searches in that geo. That generated a 368% month-over-month organic conversion lift. So the answer to not being able to connect the data top of funnel to bottom of funnel as privacy concerns kick in is to measure what top of funnel creates. I don't care. Personally, I barely care about performance marketing attribution now. My team does, obviously, because we do like demand gen and lead gen and all those things where it takes time to sell. But the more you take away my data, the more I'm going to make my brand freaking beloved for a low cost and then measure its effect on brand search. Because brand search just tricks out the whole marketing system. Literally, choose the zoomed out object for whatever your mass marketing is and saturate them, and watch what happens. You won't care about connecting the data the way you did before. Trust me, this is the way the internet is going to be. Also, there were 37 people that walked into a store and bought a pendant. The gross revenue was $7,900, but the lifetime value for customers like that is over $1,400. So for my $9,000 spend in 6 weeks, I had $23,000 of lifetime impact. The answer to having less data is to connect the dots the way we never have as an industry. And I can't believe that this cynical performance career marketing person is on a podium talking to you about branding. The answer is to make your brand beloved. Make it so it's indisputable that they know exactly who you are and what you do. Because what we know is that when we run social media, it causes keyword search. It makes people search. So here, this is the most actionable takeaway of the whole presentation for you. Keynotes are hard because you have to be kind of zoomed out, but you also have to give people things to actually work on. So here's the thing to work on. Take your conversion keywords, like from your search report, and use them. Use your conversion keywords on everything you do until people search more for brand plus conversion keyword, right? You're not just after them searching for Airbnb Dallas. You want them to search for Airbnb Dallas Uptown. So that means when I'm branding for Airbnb, I would do my normal ad, but I would say Airbnb, and then I'd have big-ass words that say Dallas Uptown. You can compel keyword search. Stamp your ads with the keywords that convert the most until people search for your keywords and your brand. Cool, huh? Also, there's no reason to there's no reason to make preset ads anymore. You know how you make 37 ads and deliver them to your client or your stakeholders in-house, and then you get them all approved and you pick the winners? Now with DCO, which is Facebook's rotation, where you drop in elements, or Facebook dynamic ads, where you drop in some elements and they assemble it and pick the winner. That's oversimplified, but essentially how it works. We've seen many, many case studies where it's much more effective to choose your elements. And how many people here use Facebook DCO? Go home and take every piece of creative that you've done in Facebook ads, make it an individual line, build out DCO ads where Facebook rotates, and there's a good likelihood it's going to improve your conversion or whatever your KPI is. So use the structures that are available now in Facebook and Google to use variables, test different ways to say it, test your best creative this way. Works really well. There's no reason at all to ever use a still image. What's fascinating about marketing right now when you use videos is you can see how long people viewed the ads. Like, I'm trying to think of a generation of marketing where I could say the average audience watched this for 18 seconds. Here's the deal. They sit and stare at this shit. It's amazing. Get whatever you need to do done in the first 4 to 6 seconds and then find 6 other ways to say it. And they just sit there and go, it's unbelievable. And think about what I said about your goal being to create brand search or keyword plus brand search, and then build out metrics for your company that are new brand search per average audience viewing time. Damon, are you here? New brand search for average audience viewing time. That is a real metric. That is a television station metric that we always dreamed of. If you can't make cool videos, don't worry. Just use After Effects or PowerPoint or Final Cut Pro or Premiere and just take that one. The average audience viewing time was 46 seconds. 46 seconds. And we did $18 leads in an environment where previously it was $70. Because people just sit and stare at this stuff. It's unbelievable. There's no reason at all. And if you have that rocket ship one, yeah, it was a video, and it had a little CTA button in the lower right-hand corner. Clicks were 40 cents to the website. There's no reason to use still images anymore in social. You're a television station now. So far as influencer marketing, the pool is getting smaller and smaller. If we used to have that used to be a gigantic bucket that was about that big for targeting influencers with paid Facebook. It's getting smaller and smaller. But here, this is the best tactic that I will tell you today. Twitter lets you target individual Twitter handles. Do you know that? As long as there's 1,000 at a time. So get into scraping mode. Go, here's the 7 hashtags that matter to me. Find every user that engaged more than 3 times on that hashtag, and then filter them by authority. There's any number of tools that will do that, and then drop that into Twitter and make an audience. The question is, why mess around with targeting when you can just make great big lists of individuals and target them? And it works for influencers too. If you email me, marty@aimclear.com, I will send you this list. Here's all the Washington Post reporters or HuffPro or BuzzFeed, or just in case you want to target the US Olympic team from 2013, or New York Times journalists. We keep this massive library of journalists, and we target them with our Twitter stuff all the time, and we get links and mentions and rebroadcast. And make sure to retarget journalists, retarget them. I wonder if we're disturbing the plumbers. Brainwash those people. Brainwash top of funnel. So I would love it if you connected with me on LinkedIn, because I'm past the point where I'm like selling for our company and I want to make friends for retirement now. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'll be around all day here if you have any questions. Which toes do you think are mine? That's the best answer ever. Thank you so much. So nice to speak with you today. I hope I didn't scare you. The takeaways are the Twitter targeting, top of funnel, stamp your things with keywords, only use video, etc. And also, I'll send out this deck to anybody that would like it. So happy to meet you and have a wonderful Confluence here today.